Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Thinking Crypto Podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Apple, Spotify, or Google, please leave a 5-star rating. It supports the podcast and it doesn't cost you anything. Please also sign up for my free weekly newsletter, which is on Substack. Link will be in the description. All right, guys, we got big news around Coinbase, which is the largest US exchange. So Coinbase settles with New York State financial regulator for $100 million. So while this may seem like a lot of money, it's a drop in the bucket for Coinbase, right? They are a public company. They have massive services, massive partnerships. They're generating ridiculous revenue. So this comes as a surprise given the timing, right? We are in the bear market. It is a few days into 2023. And why wasn't this done before the IPO? Who knows? But the great thing is that Coinbase is at least clearing all the old weeds out, right? The legacy stuff. And let me give you the details of what's happening here. So out of that $100 million, $50 million is part of the fine for letting customers open accounts with few background checks. And they are also mandated to spend $50 million to improve compliance. So this is, once again, not really a big deal. And this is over historical shortcomings in anti-money laundering and know your customer standards at the company. Like I said, Coinbase will pay a $50 million fine and invest a further $50 million into strengthening internal compliance programs after the regulators found Coinbase had failed to thoroughly vet new customers. What's interesting, too, is that the Coinbase shares jumped on the news, spiking over 12%. And you could see why is because, once again, cleaning out the old weeds. Well, only $100 million. That's once again a drop in the bucket for Coinbase. That's nothing. They're making billions, right? The other aspect to this is that New York has always been super strict, right? Their stupid bit license. I wish they would get rid of that, by the way. But that's the kind of the guardrails that the Wall Streeters put up, and it's been hard for crypto companies to get bit licenses and operate in the US. I know a lot of people have complained about this for years because it's like they want to access certain exchanges, but these exchanges can't just come work in New York. They got to get the license. It's like a very long line. So I think overall, while $100 million to us is a lot of money, for Coinbase it's nothing. And, part of it is using that money to reinvest in their own compliance standards. So really, they're just giving up $50 million to the regulators. And this is, I think, good news because, it could have been worse. Because it could have definitely been worse. And it just shows that cleaning house is happening across the board after this FTX debacle and nonsense. So overall, good news, nothing too major or critical here. And Coinbase is just going to move forward. This is like this is nothing to them. This is doing business as normal. Now, we got some interesting news coming out of the OCC. Remember the OCC, guys? Remember when Brian Brooks was at the OCC? And in 2020, he green-lighted the banks to be able to hold and custody crypto. That was an amazing time. I remember printing out the tweet and framing it, guys. Just significant, right? It was bullish times. Man, I missed the bull market. So they put out an article here, and the title of it is "Agencies Issue Joint Statement on Crypto Asset Risk to the Banking Organizations." So the TLDR here is that federal banking agencies are looking into any risks that may come from banking organizations holding crypto and participating in crypto-related activities, trading, I don't know, whatever, custody, whatever else, right? You just go down the list. They just want to make sure that the guardrails are in place and they're not rolling back, what Brian Brooks did. There have been pushback on what Brian Brooks did, over the years. There were people who are not happy about that. But the regulators here, and I'm going to share some thoughts from Carol Van Cleef, who is a digital currency blockchain lawyer and advisor. She kind of breaks down what is happening here. So let me give you the details. Believe it or not, it ain't so bad. Yes, bank crypto asset related activities take a substantial blow to the chin for very predictable reasons. But the joint OCC, Federal Reserve, and FDIC statement isn't a knockout. So once again, not entirely bad news. She said, a little over 2 years ago, OCC surprised many by opening the door to open source code, never a favorite of regulators. Today's announcement doesn't turn back the clock entirely, instead iterating a careful and cautious approach in the interest of safe and sound banking. So I don't have a problem with this. If they put guardrails and rules and regulations in place to make sure there aren't any systematic risks or problems that banks are going to face. Because look, we already see outside of crypto, banks do bad things already, right? Just look what happened to Wells Fargo. And every year, some bank is taking some major fine for doing something bad to customers, illegal activity, you name it, right? So this is not a crypto specific thing, but if you bring in crypto into the mix, it just adds more things that could cause more risks, right? And it's not necessarily the technology or the asset, it's the human beings. It's the bad actors, right? I think we all know that. She said, key takeaways, 1, or A, while regulators are still assessing, issuing, or holding as principal crypto assets issued, stored, or transferred on an open, public, and or decentralized network or similar system is highly likely to be inconsistent and safe and sound banking practice. Inconsistent with safe and sound banking practices. B, there are significant safety and soundness concerns with business models that are concentrated in crypto asset-related activities or have concentrated exposure to the crypto asset sector. C, the agencies are closely monitoring the crypto asset-related exposure of banking organizations. CVC note, this includes banks themselves and non-bank parents or affiliates with such exposure. D, banking organizations that want to engage in crypto asset-related activities need to do it in a safe and sound way that is legally permissible and fully compliant with applicable laws and regulations with a big dollop of risk management. So guys, once again, the rules of the road, the guardrails, what can the banks do and not do with crypto assets? It's not reversing what Brian Brooks did of saying you can't custody crypto. We just saw last year, right? I think it was Q3, BNY Mellon launch crypto custody. We know JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and all these other guys are doing crypto trading, and they're doing all kinds of stuff now with their wealthy clients. So the direction we're moving in is adoption of crypto by banks, not just in the United States, but globally. And the United States here, you got the OCC, Federal Reserve, and FDIC putting the guardrails in place, right? The Fed wants to make sure that they'll have the reserves to back everything, the custody, FDIC, insurance, guys. Because I'm telling you, you will be able to walk into your bank and they're going to ask if you want to invest in crypto, and they're going to custody it for you. That's coming. Once again, look at the BNY Mellon example, right? The world's largest custodial bank. They launched crypto custody. They didn't have to do that. Why did they do that? Because this is the future. Speaking of the Fed, we got the Fed minutes from December today, and some interesting statements about FTX came out. So FTX Collapse didn't pose broader market risk to financial system. In minutes from its meeting in December, the Fed said FTX's collateral damage has not impacted the broader financial system. Thank God, right? I mean, look, once again, it doesn't matter if it's crypto or even the traditional financial part of the world. The Fed needs to monitor all these things because, once again, we've seen these banks do bad things. Look at 2008, right? Look what they did. So it's just bad actors, human beings. It's just part of civilization and life, right? But we got to make sure that we have put guardrails and checks and balances in place. So in the minutes from its 2002 Federal Open Market Committee meeting released Wednesday, the central bank acknowledged that FTX's failure has severely impacted the digital asset ecosystem. Here's a quote. While the spillovers from this situation had been significant among other crypto lenders and exchanges, the collapse was not seen as posing broader market risk to the financial system. The minutes read, central bankers who referred to FTX as a prominent crypto asset exchange in the minutes noted that inflationary pressures like mean higher rates will remain for the foreseeable future. Committee members did acknowledge that significant progress on the inflation front has been achieved through rate hikes. So it goes into rate hikes and what they're doing in the economy. But this is some good news. At least it is going to help cool the fire, the heat coming from a lot of crypto naysayers who were like, see, this is going to cause the collapse of the economy and blah, blah, blah. No, not yet. We're not that large. In fact, what Wells Fargo and these other guys are doing outside of crypto, that will, because they're playing with the housing market. They're playing with all types of, assets that have further reach and adoption, right? Crypto is still young, guys. So, but the good thing is that crypto's on the agenda for everybody now, right? They're paying attention as the asset class and technology continues to grow. Now, Caitlin Long, I've had her on the show multiple times, and she gave a really great example here of what I'm talking about. In that traditional finance, you have the problems that took place with FTX as well, right? So she said all the commingling that happened among crypto intermediaries reminds me of this SEC action from 2016. And what was that? According to the SEC's order instituting a settled administrative proceeding, Merrill Lynch further isolated the customer protection rule by failing to adhere to requirements that fully paid for customer securities be held in lien-free accounts and shielded from claims by third parties should a firm collapse. From 2009 to 2015, Merrill Lynch held up to $58 billion per day of customer securities in a clearing account that was subject to a general lien by its clearing bank and held additional customer securities in accounts worldwide that similarly were subject to liens. Had Merrill Lynch collapsed at any point, customers would have been exposed to significant risk and uncertainty of getting back their own securities. So what FTX did was not a blockchain crypto specific thing. Commingling of funds clearly have happened outside of crypto, and general wire fraud and taking customer funds. That is just old fashioned stealing and fraud, right? Now, don't get me wrong. They pumped their exchange token FTT, which I wasn't invested in, and I wouldn't recommend people to necessarily mess with exchange tokens unless it's fully decentralized. But clearly, it was centralized. That was manipulated, but not nothing changed for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, and so forth. Those blockchains are still working. Everything was fine, even through all this debacle. Yes, the price is down, but we're in a bear market, and every asset is down right now, right? It's a macro bear market. So just I share this stuff because it's important to have the knowledge and the perspective and to look at things from a factual standpoint, not from a sensational standpoint. Right now, you're seeing the headlines about, Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, crypto's going to zero, see, crypto's a scam, crypto's a Ponzi. And then when you just had Wells Fargo fine ridiculously for what they were doing, that doesn't get the sensationalized headlines, right? That becomes like normal. Oh, another bank got fined. Oh, whatever. Crypto, what? Oh, that crypto stuff is from the devil, right? That's the type of knee-jerk reaction people have because there's a lot of people who are not educated, right? They don't understand. They fear something they don't understand. And it's disruption that's happening. So people fear change and disruption. And there's a lot of incumbents that are fighting it as well. So once you understand these things, you know how to position yourself and what steps you have to take from an investment standpoint. Now, Celsius, this is obviously an ongoing bankruptcy. I'm hoping those of you who have your funds stuck on Celsius, you're able to get them back, but it's not looking too great. Here we got news that here's the headline: not enough value left to repay Celsius customers. The cryptocurrencies of many customers now belongs to Celsius bankruptcy estate. As of July 2022, such accounts total a scant $4.2 million, according to the filing. So when Celsius filed for bankruptcy, it had over 600,000 accounts in the company's highest yield-bearing cryptocurrency products. So, those, I think we had talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Those of you who had your funds in the Celsius wallet will most likely get your funds back. Those that were in the yield interest earning accounts, it doesn't look like you're going to be able to. It looks like here it is the owned by Celsius because that was part of the fine print essentially. So the crypto assets held in the accounts are now property of the bankruptcy estate. The judge ruled former investors who were hoping to get their funds back have Celsius terms and conditions to blame, the judge said. Man, this sucks. This really sucks. They got to find Alex Mashinsky and put him in jail too. You know, him and Sam Bankman-Fried, maybe they can share a cell together, right, guys? You do the crime, you got to pay the time, man. I interviewed Alex Mashinsky, like 5 times on my channel. And this was over the years. This is going back to like 2018. And of course, you don't know what the hell is happening behind the scenes. You only see the outside. There were some red flags with the yield and so forth, but Alex would, one of the things that was interesting about Alex, he would come out and address it. It wasn't like he was hiding or keeping quiet. He would go on other podcasts, larger shows than mine. He would go on mainstream media and talk about these things. But this is where the regulators like the SEC failed. Why weren't they checking up on their books and their reporting? And, Gary Gensler and the SEC missed FTX, even though Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX officials met with him multiple times. He missed Celsius, Voyager, Terra Luna, and 3 Hours Capital and so forth. Some of the biggest collapses, billions of dollars lost. Gary Gensler's highlight of 2022. Oh, I fined Kim Kardashian a few million. Wow. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for protecting the retail investors. We know where your priorities lie. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button, share this video, and I'll talk to you all later.